Hi everyone, Jessica Morrison, Realtor with FC Tucker Company, back for another new construction highlight. Today we are sitting down with Bridgenorth Homes and learning about their community in Hancock County. With us we have sales representative Kristen Tran. Kristen, thank you so much for your time today.
You're welcome, Jessica. Thank you so much for inviting me.
As always, we love to highlight new construction communities all across Indianapolis so that as buyers are searching and weighing their options, my goal is to make the ultimate playlist of building resources for people. So um, tell us a bit about your community and just kind of what makes it special.
Sure. So I am the sales representative for Sunrise Lake. We are a community of, well, when we're filled, we'll be 102 homes. And so Bridgenorth Homes builds in this community as well as custom home builder Dave Parrish. So what's beautiful about our community is we have a lot of variety. We don't just, your neighbor's house isn't going to look like your house. We have 4 different elevations to choose from, along with 10 different floor plans to build. 6 ranch plans, as well as 4 2-story plans. And so when you drive through the neighborhood, you can definitely tell there's a theme, but like I said, there's a good amount of variety. Our location is fabulous right here in New Palestine, just a little bit off the east side of town. So quiet, beautiful. You get that small town vibe going on, but we're super close to 52. So you could easily get into Indianapolis, or if you worked in Greenfield, get on 600 Mount Comfort Road, go north. It's really, really a great location. We have people from all over who come to build with us here in New Pal.
That's great. So let's start off with some of the basics. I love that you mentioned you have 6 different ranch floor plans available. Ranches are just such a resale friendly floor plan for meeting the different demographic needs.
Absolutely.
But do you guys allow for basements to be built? What price range are we looking at? What amenities can be found in this neighborhood?
Sure. So we can build basements here at Sunrise Lake. I will be completely honest with you and tell you that it's pretty pricey. And the reason being is that since we are a highly personalized builder, not quite semi-custom. I don't want to use the word custom, but we have a lot of options when it comes to building your home. And because of that, each of our homes is very unique. And so then if you wanted to build a basement on top of that, we're looking probably in the upper, I would say above $75,000 for an unfinished basement.
Which is
Like I said, it's not that it can't be done. It's just you might run into appraisal issues. If you're not paying cash, stuff like that. So we will do it, but there's just, we got to all know, everybody has to know what the cost is, not just the numbers, but then also, can you do it with your lender, things like that. As far as amenities, we do have a pool in the neighborhood. It's wonderful. It's perfect we got lounge chairs out there. We have a little covered porch area, so you can easily host like a small party out by the pool. We also have a stocked pond in the community. A number of our homes back up to this pond, but then if you wanted to access the pond, you could, even if you lived, in one of the other homes. And we also are very close to the Pensy Trail. So we're a very short drive away. I see a lot of people bike riding, going up there to the Pensy Trail, because where our community is at, it's a lot of back roads, like country roads. So you could easily get there and not have to get onto any major roads.
That's great. Now, when you say stocked pond, does that mean
Yes.
per HOA covenants that you're allowed to fish out of that pond?
Yes.
Okay.
Catch and release.
Very fun. Okay.
Yeah. So the neighbors got together. Yeah, the neighbors got together and stocked it. I'm not sure when, but it wasn't originally stocked, but then the neighbors got together and pooled money and put fish in there.
That's fun. Really fun for families, especially with kids, to kind of have that local resource. And I do love that you have a pool amenity.
Yep.
That's a significant cost for a developer to put in. And but a great resale value, as a lot of new construction options across Indy don't always have that feature.
Mhm.
Do you know yet what the proposed HOA fee will be and how often that's paid?
So our current HOA fee is $625 a year, which turns out to be about $52 a month. It's billed in January. So the neighbors get the bill in January and then they pay it. It's not rolled into their mortgage or anything like that. And then if you were to build or purchase a home in the community, it would just be prorated. So I have a homeowner closing next week. So they will be paying the HOA dues from the date of closing for the rest of the year at that rate. And then in January, it might get reassessed. It might go up. I'll be honest, it's 625 this year. 2023, it was 550 or 575. So, but last year the pool didn't open until July of last year. So this year is the first full year with the pool. And so I'll be honest, we only have about 10 home sites left to build on. So, well, for Bridgenorth, and then Dave Parish has 5 home sites left to build on. And so because we're getting towards the end of completing this community, I don't see the HOA dues going up much more because our community is about to max out.
Sure. So with that, do you guys build spec homes, or are you waiting for homeowners to come along and customize each one? And out of the portfolio, if you do allow for spec homes to be built, how many of the homes in the community are spec versus customized?
That's a great question. So currently I have 2 spec homes available. One of them just got listed on the MLS yesterday. And then the other one is a little bit further behind. And so I think we're going to wait another week or two to get that listed. And we started those back in December for them to be ready in the summer to get, more interest in the neighborhood, to get people out here. Typically, so I'll be honest, I've only been with the company about a year and a half. And so I'm telling you from what I understand, like secondhand, right? That's been told to me. I didn't live it, but from what I understand, there's been only a couple homes since the 2 that are being built this year that have been true spec homes. We did have another model that we sold back in 2020 or something. Like, this is the second model home that I'm sitting in right now. But the other homes that were for sale were actually homes that fell out of contract. So somebody had commissioned it, to be built, and then for whatever reason, they decided to back out of the contract. And so then we had to sell it to somebody else after it was completed.
Okay.
Yeah. So with that being said, we don't even though we're kind of in this interesting area where we're not a true production builder, but we're not really custom because we have floor plans to choose from. We only have certain options. We have your bathroom faucets have to be, one of our options, things like that. So that's why we don't do a lot of specs, is because we do have a lot of personalization, but at the same time, like I said, we do have a couple going, that are available now to purchase. But that's not the norm. Our typical customer, is somebody who really knows what they want. They may have built custom before or have extensively remodeled their current home. So they really know what they want. They know what they like. And they are willing to take the time to go through the process of building their home, because it is about 6 months contract to close. So,
Okay.
that's another thing with financing, kind of figuring that part out of, how they can afford it, and, where they're living right now versus when they can move in here, things like that. But that's my job, is to help them with that. So
Sure. So when you say 6 months, is that the time of an executed contract to build, or is it that at the time of when permits are received?
so that is from executed contract.
Okay.
So when I get a contract, I go to the office immediately, drop it off, and they get to work drafting it, getting the home site surveyed, getting the permits pulled. And then about 3 to 4 weeks after the contract is signed, we have our pre-construction meeting where we'll sit down and go through all of the drawings, making sure that all of the options that were discussed during the sales process are on those drawings. We also can't forget color selection. So, but before pre-construction meeting, we pick out your colors, and then we go through them again at the pre-construction meeting just to make sure that everything looks right. And then from the pre-construction meeting, it's about 5 months or so to build your house. So that's why I say 6 months from contract to close. Because it's really about 5 months from the pre-construction meeting till close. And by close, I mean the house is yours, it's done, you can move in, keys are yours, you're good to go.
Does that timeline remain the same if you do an unfinished basement?
So I'll be honest, I have not sold an unfinished basement, but I was close. And when we were at that point, it was going to add about another month to do the unfinished basement.
Sure. Yeah, it's just funny how different nuances like that with the foundation or additional evaluations, labor, concrete, as I'm sure has certainly impacted the price of
Yes,
that.
and
But
I mean, yeah, I mean, that's really, the concrete price has just skyrocketed. And, you know, I know other builders will offer basements for less than what we can, but they will make up those costs in other ways. So we are very upfront with our pricing. Like when you sit down, if you, Jessica, were to bring a client of yours, we would sit down, we itemize everything. It's all spelled out. You know exactly what you're getting, what you're paying for. We are, you know, when I first started, I thought maybe we overdo it. But then as I've been here, I'm like, oh, I get why we do this, because so I've gotten more detailed as I've worked here, but when I first started, I don't think I was as detail oriented, but now I have learned, okay, you know, we've got to be very, very detailed when we do these plans and we do these contracts and everything. And, you know, the people in the office have really helped me understand the importance of, because I think when you sell real estate, like outside of new home sales, it's, or even other production builders, I don't think there is as much details. But when building with us, you know, we are very, we spell everything out, so that there's no miscommunication about what you're getting.
well, and the big thing is, buyers will try very hard not to get emotionally invested in something until after closing. But when you're starting to customize, I mean, and that is a labor of love. It's not a 30-day contract. It's months. And the more you customize it, it's an investment. And so
Yeah,
having
absolutely.
the total financial picture, especially in a market where interest rates are fluctuating, they may be eligible for incentives at the time of when they purchase, but things can happen in their employment. And so there's just a lot of moving parts that financially you want to know the whole picture, because the last thing you want to do is to spend all this time becoming invested in a property only for the rug to get pulled out from under you. And you've probably brought your kids and you're signing the framing with your favorite
Yeah.
quotes and things like that. And, you know, it's special. And, you know, it's heartbreaking to do that and then to not have it work out. So I love that you exhaust all of those details, because even if it does feel tedious, I know that buyers appreciate that, because again, it's a big purchase. And regardless if it's a build or a pre-existing home, having that total financial picture is so important. So
Absolutely.
speaking of finances, do you have a preferred lender or any incentives that buyers should be aware of?
Yep. So we have currently 5 different preferred lenders. And if you use one of our preferred lenders, we will pay up to $2,000 in closing costs. And that's, again, all spelled out in our contract. I could Jessica, if you want, I can share with you what exactly that means, but we just spell out what costs we will pay and what the buyer is responsible for. And the reason that we have 5 different preferred lenders is because since we are a local Hancock County based company, we want to support local lenders as well. So we are not, I know other builders, you know, they have their own lender or they only work with one lender. But our owners believe strongly to have relationships with multiple lenders. And of course, you don't have to use one of our lenders. If you have maybe like a credit union relationship, I know credit unions can give really great rates and great incentives. So by all means, you know, use them. So it's not gonna, you know, we don't care.
Can
And
I
then as
interject
far
real
as,
quick?
yeah,
Sorry, just so you are aware as a consumer and as a representative, I love the concept of credit unions. Um, but from the mortgage side, as a consumer, make sure that whoever is working on your file is a licensed mortgage officer, because
mm,
banks and credit unions have a loophole that they don't have to have licensed mortgage brokers working on those files. And I've seen it come up, not exclusive to credit unions, banks in general, where you've I've had the listing, we've had a buyer work with a bank, and it turns out that representative did not know what they were doing. We did all of this, but we asked all the right questions. And unfortunately, I was able to help the buyer's agent redirect to a reputable local lender, who from at point of receiving contract got the whole thing, including appraisal, done in 11 days, and we were on schedule to close. So not always
wow.
going to be the best, like, I mean, that guy's a rock star lender. Props to Mike Bentley with Cross Country Mortgage, but you know, just making sure that as a consumer, you understand the risks of somebody who may not be licensed, and having gone through that extensive education and testing. So again, love credit unions, but kind of a buyer beware moment. So continue.
So, and then you asked about our promotion. So this month in June at Sunrise Lake, we have a kind of tiered offer where depending on how much in options you spend, I can award up to $15,000 off the cost of your options. So to give you an example, our base prices start somewhere in the neighborhood of, well, our lowest price offering is 311,000. And then some of our 2 stories will have a base price of, I think it tops out around 392,000. So that's kind of where our base prices start. And then you would come and sit down with me and do what's called a price out. We call it a price out. And we would sit down and talk about, you know, what extensions do you want? Do you want a bonus room? Do you want the gourmet kitchen? Do you want the upgraded flooring? You know, all of these things. And then we calculate up your, what's called your options order. And so what I'm able to do this month and hopefully next month in July, I'm not sure yet, but I'm able to offer up to $15,000 off of the options, again, depending on how much money you spend in options. And I'll just be completely honest as well. So those are our base price ranges. Usually by the time people do their upgrades and different things, they're spending at least $50,000 in upgrades. Now, of course, that's my job as the sales representative, and of course, Jessica's job as bringing a client and representing them. You know, we're on the same team. Okay, I know I represent the builder, right? The seller, if you will. And Jessica would be representing you as the client. But we all want the same thing. We all want you, the consumer, the buyer, to have an enjoyable building experience and build a beautiful home that meets you and your family's needs. So Jessica and I are on the same team. We would be helping you kind of determine, for example, in your budget, like what's the most important options? What's something that you can maybe do down the road that like we as the builder don't necessarily need to do? If you want the bonus room, you probably should do that with us and not add it on later. Or, if you want to bump out, or if you want the covered porch, that might be something you do with us. But flooring, perfect example. You might say, I'm good with the base carpet. Fabulous. We'll stick with the base carpet. Or the bathroom accessories. We don't need to upgrade those. We'll change them out ourselves. Fabulous. That works for me. I am not here. Like, I know there's a misconception about builder representatives, whatever it is. I came from teaching. Okay. So my background is in education. I have a master's in education. I have a master's in biology. So when I got into this business, I didn't realize kind of the reputation that a lot of new home salespeople have, is kind of maybe bending the truth a little bit, or that kind of stuff. And I was like, wait, what? That's what our reputation is? I don't do that. Like, I don't mess around with that, And so, when I have a customer come in and they're telling me what they want, they're telling me their budget, I say, okay, well, let's work through it, and we'll sit down and we'll work through it. I'll get with their lender and say, hey, they want to maybe spend this much, like, what's that look like for their payment? Because, we're all conscious of the interest rates, right? And I don't, nobody wants anybody to be house poor, right? Like, people talk about, oh, I don't want to be house poor. I don't want you to be house poor. I want you to love your new house. I want you to love being in this neighborhood. I don't want you to be sad, how much money is coming out of your bank account. So again, we work together to make sure that the buyer, the customer, the homeowner is happy with what they're building.
Yeah, that's great. And I think that, again, that 6-month timeline is fairly unique. A lot of builders have more months added on to that timeline. And I think some of that is the result of them being more of a true production builder rather than a semi-custom experience where you have more control over the scheduling of things and potentially more niche relationships with contractors. So in wrapping up this interview, is there any particular advice or things first, anything that you wanted to make sure you mentioned about what makes the building experience with Bridgenorth unique or special compared to other builders in the area? I know we've really highlighted that you are very comprehensive and educating and ensuring that the home is within the client's budget. And then the second question is, are there any tips that you would have for buyers or sellers who are considering building right now in this market?
Yeah. So I think what makes us unique is that you're going to get a home that is very unique to you, but not paying the custom pricing. I mean, from what our price point is very competitive with true production builders, but you're getting a lot more. That's just the truth. You're getting I have people come into my model all the time saying, I was just at such and such builder and their model didn't look like yours at all. And yes, our price point's higher than like a true production builder, but if you think about the quality and if you think about your home as an investment, that's really what sets us apart. And the fact that you're in a neighborhood such as Sunrise Lake, new Palestine schools, your resale value is going to maintain. All of our neighbors here really care about their home and being a part of a community. So that's really what you're going to get with us here at Bridgenorth. And then for your second question about tips for buyers and sellers, I would really consider what's most important to you in your next home purchase. So we tend to get a lot of people in this neighborhood who are kind of like your downsizers. We do have 2-story homes. We do have families in the neighborhood, but the majority of our customers are downsizers, if you will. They're going from a 2-story home and looking more for a ranch. And so if I was somebody in the market, I would just really be honest with myself about what am I really looking for? You know, where do I see myself for the next, you know, what do they say? The average now people are in their houses for 5 years, but say 10 years. Like, what do I want for the next 10 years of my life? Where do I want to be? Who do I want to be close to? What amenities do I want to be close to? And then kind of figuring out, okay, do I want to be in a neighborhood? Do I want some land? I get a lot of people who, especially here in Hancock County, are really looking more for acreage as opposed to being in a neighborhood. But like we have a community in McCordsville that's quad homes, they're condos. And so if you were going to move up there, for them, it's like, well, I want to be closer to the amenities in McCordsville and Hamilton County. I don't really care about being in a neighborhood, right? Like I can have my little condo, but I want to be, you know, closer to that lifestyle. So really it's about the lifestyle you want. Like what are your goals with that? And then I think from there, when you're honed in on like what you're really looking for, it'll be way easier for you, for your real estate agent to be able to focus your home search. Because new construction might not be the right path for you. But it can bring a lot of it can bring more to the table than buying existing, because, you know, like us, we have the 210 home buyer's warranty. We pride ourselves on the quality of our construction and the work that's done. So like I just had somebody yesterday come in, like living in an older home. He's like, I'm sick of fixing all this stuff. I want to build new. Yeah, I totally get it. You know, like why, you know, if you've got an older home, like why not buy new? It's great.
Yeah, and I know I've said this in a number of interviews in this series on YouTube, but if you haven't seen those videos, this is an important reminder that obviously when you're building a home, we're going to trust the quality of that builder to honor their current building guidelines and meet code and all of that. I'm sure they're great people. You might even have an awesome sales representative, but people still make mistakes. So we're going to want to have independent home inspections because
Mhm.
especially pre-drywall, that's the one time to find out if the tub is properly structurally supported or that your home is properly graded to ensure that there's not water coming up against your foundation. And especially if you've got a basement that you're going to have a perpetual I didn't have this listing, but I was aware of a home that was being built where they dug and hit a spring, and that basement sump pump was perpetually having to pump out water. So just making sure that your best interests are protected. That's part of our role as a realtor, is to help ensure that when those bumps come up, that they're handled in a way that honors the contract and honors code, and hopefully we don't have to go down that road. But again, there's a lot of need around Indianapolis, and you cannot rely on a code enforcer to ensure that your home is being built properly. So I tell people that's a lot like why we have homeowners insurance. We buy it, we hope we don't need it. But if we find out we do need it, we're glad that we had it. And it's the same thing for our home inspection. So if you don't find anything, that doesn't mean that the fee wasn't worth it. It just means that you got lucky that time around. So,
Well,
and then,
and just to interject, Jessica, so we do have, that's part of our contract, is we do welcome independent home inspections. And they're gonna find something. Like, they're gonna find something. There's never a clean inspection report. But what we do, and I can't speak for other builders, but what we do is we do take into account what the independent home inspector has found, and we do work with the buyer to remedy that. But no home's gonna be perfect. No home is, I mean, they're made by men, and so they're going to have, the inspectors are gonna find something. So just so that people understand, like, no, it doesn't matter, new home construction, even like one of those what do you call the prefab, like manufactured homes, if you were to get one of those, like built somewhere in the factory and then plopped on a piece of land, it's gonna, if you get an inspection, they're probably gonna find something. So,
Yep. And then even, and I've heard people argue, well, like that's what the builder's warranty is for. And it's like, well, if you could fix it at the time of when it was being built and not have to
right,
utilize that warranty, which every builder is going to want to have good service with their warranty program, but there's no guarantee that it won't take a minute to get that fixed. And
right.
I've seen a situation where there was flooding that occurred from the upstairs and it flooded, got underneath the flooring on the main level. Buyers had to temporarily live somewhere else while that was being remediated. And, you know, you're just entirely reliant on the builder to uphold their warranty. And, you know, what discussion does that look like with your homeowner's insurance? So if we can avoid you having to deal with that headache, let's make that decision. And
Absolutely.
then also just a good reminder too, especially in light of the exclusive agency contracts now coming into enforcement in Indiana for July 1st. For overly transparency, are you offering a buyer's agent compensation if they bring a buyer to you as a builder?
Thank you for asking that, because we are committed to paying 3% to our realtor partners on the total purchase price. So when I
Wow.
was talking before about our base prices and then adding options, we will
Yeah.
pay our realtors the total purchase price, because that's what is on the contract. So their contract is going to read the base price plus all the options. And so the realtor
Mhm.
partners are paid what's on the contract. And it's 3% at close. And also, we welcome our realtor partners to be involved in as much as they want during the sales process and the construction process. We have some realtors who kind of just register their clients and then they say, you know, you can take over, and like I don't really see them a whole lot. And then I have other
Yeah.
realtors who are more involved, like they want to be at the contract signing, at the pre-construction meeting, at the pre-drywall meeting, and that's fine too. Like we welcome our realtor partners, and because we want the collaboration. Like we understand that you're there representing the buyer, and again, like I said, we're all on the same team. We're all trying to
Yep.
make this an enjoyable experience for your client, for our customer. And so at least that's how I operate.
Yep.
And the owners of the company also, want that as well. That we are all on the same team, trying to make this as enjoyable of an experience as possible for the home buyer.
Oh, that's great. And thank you for, I always feel like a company, like people can, builders can say, oh, we're realtor friendly. And then when the rubber meets the road to pay the realtor, you see it reflected in their policy. And there were some builders who, when the market got really good, I am very slow to jump on the greed train, but there were some who reduced agent commissions and I was
Mhm.
doing the same amount of work, but
Mhm.
on one deal, it was 60% less. So imagine
Wow.
if you were a consumer, you did the same amount of work, but because a company had the upper hand, they chose to pay you 60% less. And we're entirely commission based, and this is not a woe is Jessica moment. This is just the reality of our profession. We don't dictate which homes we show to clients. We're going to take our clients to the homes that they want to see and are going to be in their best interest to buy. And so, I just say all that because I've helped clients price out homes that were, um, their dream home. And, that compensation was on the base price. And so
Mm. Mhm.
it's nice to see because we are involved in the discussions of making those
Mhm.
selections. We are like, I choose to be involved at every step of the way because I'm representing the buyer. I should be part of those conversations. I'm visiting the model on a weekly basis, taking photos so that when you close, you've got this nice full carousel of watching your home be built. And then if you ever need to refer back to, oh, where's the plumbing line, or where's my electrical running? You've got this beautiful gallery that you could choose to pass on, or if you renovate your home later, you've got some nice visual reference points. But all of that to say, it's not a quick closing. We are with you every step of that transaction. And, so I'm just grateful to hear that as a professional, because there's a lot of work that does go in behind the scenes.
Mhm.
And again, we
Right.
want this to be a successful, fun experience for you as a consumer. And as a good reminder, so if a buyer is like, hey, I know you're offering 3%, I don't have an agent, are you going to take that off the price of the home?
Yeah, I'll be honest, we've had some people, I'm just gonna be honest. We've had some people do that, and it doesn't usually go anywhere because we offer a promotion anyway.
Yep.
Which equals roughly about what you would end up paying a realtor. Um, so yeah, I mean, I've had people ask, but we don't, at least since I've been here, we have not,
And
nobody's been
typically that,
successful at getting that. I'll say that.
sure. Well, typically the discussion is that compensation is built into the base price of the home, and that's not something that the builder is willing to negotiate below. So just food for thought as a consumer, if you're considering building and don't have representation, in a way you're paying for services that you're not using. So again, you're always welcome to try to
Yep.
negotiate as a buyer, but just know that the builder has taken that compensation into consideration when they've priced their homes accordingly. So I don't mean to
And I would
belabor
also,
that, but go ahead.
well, but also to build off of that, Jessica, for your viewers, make sure if you are tour any builder, okay, any builder, if you are walking into a builder's model home or their office or whatever, make sure you mention in that first interaction that you are working with a realtor.
Yep.
Because there are some situations where I know, and again, I can't speak for every builder. I know they all operate differently, but like for us, if somebody came in and I met with them and, we went through, and then maybe I met with them a couple more times, and then all of a sudden on like the third or fourth visit, they said, oh, by the way, we're working with so-and-so. Like, wait, what? That's not, it would be, because really what we as the builder are paying for is procuring costs, right?
Mhm.
So like if you're working with somebody and they're like, okay, Jessica, like I want new construction, and you're touring them around, right? You bringing them to us is, or if you sent them to us, maybe you couldn't physically be there because you had another appointment or whatever, but if you sent them to us, make sure that they are saying that they're working with you from the very first conversation, because it just can become like a sticky situation where, it's not that we
Mhm.
don't want to compensate our realtor partners. We just don't want it to become a situation where somebody is, out shopping, and then, and then by the, they don't mention that they're working with a realtor until like the third or fourth or fifth visit. And then and then us as the builder has to wonder, well, when did that relationship start?
Yep.
Do you get what does
Yeah.
that make
No,
sense?
yeah. And I think honestly
Okay.
that with the state ruling and
Mm-hmm.
enforcing exclusive agency agreements, I maybe I'm just naively optimistic, but I think that, I mean, I've been doing buyer consultations for a long time. And so, I have ways that I coach clients on, hey, like, I get it. You're out and you're doing errands and you just want to pop in, but first thing you say is, hey, I'm working with so and so, here's her card, or, shoot me a quick text and I'll do an introduction, just because you're right. Like, we can't be babysitting our clients. Like, I can't be in 10
Right.
places at once. And so the
Right.
important thing is that you, as a buyer's agent, set your expectations with the client of, okay, if you're interested, let me know. That make sure it's the first thing out of your mouth, because then that representative knows to respect that relationship. And then
Absolutely.
let's make an appointment where we can all talk together and have a conversation, because it is my job to represent you and ensure that your best interests are protected. And, just to be entirely part of that conversation rather than it being oh, by the way, that's the last thing we want as a professional, is to find out after the fact. So, and I get it, mistakes happen, but that's where relationships happen. And I'm hopeful that with the enforcement of buyer exclusive agency contracts, that more buyers will be informed of how to handle new construction. And then we can also demonstrate, hey, this is our client. We've signed this relationship. And, I don't know if that will be more or less helpful in those predicament situations, but at least there is a statewide more insurance guarantee that the buyer has been informed of how to navigate, hopefully, that process with the way other agents handle their business. So I know it's part of mine.
Right. No, I agree. I think the enforcement of the buyer's exclusive agency contract is a great thing for the industry. I think it's just going to make all of the real estate professionals more accountable, more professional. I'm actually really excited for the changes happening next month. I know other realtors maybe are a little bit more nervous about it, but I think it's a great change.
Yeah, I'm all for transparency. I think you can only control what's in your boat, and you want to be hopeful that as you engage with other professionals, that we're all mutually moving in the same direction and problem solving together, especially maintaining that ethical component with negotiating. So I think it's going to be a learning curve for Indiana. Some states and other MLSs have already required a buyer's exclusive agency. So as these settlement outcomes have come into play, some agents have been like, what's the big deal? Like, we're already doing this. And I'm like, we aren't. And, so it's a new ground, but we'll figure it out together. And again, that's where relationships are really important, because everybody's learning. So,
Absolutely.
Any final tips before we close, or final thoughts? You said you had, I think, 1 or 2 spec homes coming up. Correct me if
Yes,
I'm wrong.
I have two spec homes coming up. I think I was just replaying our conversation, and I'm like, I feel like I hit everything that was important for your viewers. And yes, I do have 2 spec homes that will be completed next month. One of them is already listed on the MLS on Zillow, wherever you're looking. And then one will be posted shortly.
Okay, great. So if you found this video helpful, please let us know in the comments. If there's other new communities you would like to see highlighted, please comment that so we can get them on the show. If you'd like to connect with Kristen or myself, I'll have those contact details in the description of this video, as well as a link to the spec home that she mentioned that is currently listed. And once again, if you're interested in building any new construction opportunity around Indianapolis, including spec homes, purchasing, please feel free to connect with me, and we can get you not only with some great representation, but have a fun time in that buying process. So thank you again, Kristen, for your time.
You're welcome, Jessica. Have a good one.